Hello and welcome back to the Geekend Live. I'm Jamie, and on this YouTube channel, we talk about Star Wars, Marvel, and more. And we do it live once a week at whatever time this is, 6 p.m. where I am. Don't know what it is where you are, but I hope you are having a good day, whatever time it may be. So, welcome along once again to another episode. Let's have a look who is in the chat before I tell you what's coming up on this week's alleged entertainment that is the Geekend Live. Well, I can confirm that Simon D will not be here because he's selfishly chosen basketball over hanging out with us tonight. But he has made the right decision, a very good decision, by liking this stream. He's placed his trust in the stream that the stream will deliver the goods, and in advance has hit that like button, despite the fact he has no idea what's actually going to happen. So maybe you should all hit that like button. And we have Count Star Wars Meg, who has been looking forward to this. My friend Star Wars Meg, who was here last week for the chat batch. We've got another chat batch coming up this week. More on that in a moment. Frogger's here as well. Ahoy, hoy to you, Frogger. You've made it for the second week in a row after your hiatus. Can we call it a hiatus? Just did. Peter's here as well. Hello, fellow Geekenders, or do we have another nickname? Nah, Geekenders is good. No, it's good. I'm confirming for you, Frogger, as well. Geekenders is good. We've used that before, and we can continue using it unless someone comes up with a better one. Right. Hello as well. Again to you, Peter. I'm here. I assume you meant me, or maybe you meant Frogger, or maybe you meant Anders, or Anders, sorry. See, Anders, I haven't said your name for a few weeks. I feel like I haven't said your name for a few weeks. Usually I say it, obviously, on a regular basis, just when I'm going along my daily business, household chores. I'm washing the dishes, but I'm thinking Anders and I'm saying Anders. Honest. Right. Geekend Troopers is another one. We'll stick with Geekenders, I think, for now, but we will put Geekend Troopers on the kind of maybe list for the future, Peter. Keep those suggestions coming. Right. I'll pop back to the chat in a second, but this is what we've got coming up tonight. Lord of the Rings, a couple of little Lord of the Rings stories in relation to the old and the new with the Amazon series. Star Wars Visions. So since we last met, a little bit more information on that has come to light. So I'd like to know what you guys think about that. And we will have another edition of the Chat Batch where we look back at the most recent episode of the Bad Batch, which is like almost a week ago by now. And it was episode 10, Common Ground, I think it was called. Pretty sure. I made a note of it. Where's the note? See, I never have my notes in front of me at the right time. Here we go, episode 10. Yeah, Common Ground. And we will be joined tonight by Phil Hawkins. You'll know him as Philip Hawkins in the chat. He is a YouTuber who does content on things like Doctor Who, Red Dwarf, also the occasional bit of Marvel. He is a big Star Wars fan. Don't think he does much Star Wars content, but he is a big Star Wars fan. So don't worry. He'll be joining us in about 30 minutes time. Sige is here. Good to see you, Sige. And yeah. All right, then. I think we'll get it into the first story. Oh, by the way, something else that's on the agenda tonight is whether Vigo will survive the stream, because you'll see that he hasn't fallen. He's no longer fallen. Vigo was rescued. I managed to pick him up, dust him off, get him back on the wall again. But as you can see, the thing with Vigo is, he does have a mind of his own, and he's already trying to creep off again. See? Already. So I don't know if Vigo will survive the stream. So that's something to keep you watching. Will Vigo survive the duration of the stream, or will Vigo have fallen by the end of it? Stay tuned to find out. Right. Something that I didn't mention, because in the past we have dedicated streams to items like Jane's wife's motorbike. Also, Vigo had a stream dedicated to him when he sadly was fallen. But I'm going to dedicate this stream to Richard Donner after the sad news of his passing since we last spoke. So Yeah, legendary film director. I'm sure you guys know. You don't need me to tell you this, but obviously, the stream would be no use if it was just me, sitting in silence. So I'll read a little bit of this obituary from The Guardian. Richard Donner, director of Superman and The Goonies, dies aged 91. The New York-born filmmaker worked on hits ranging from The Twilight Zone to Lethal Weapon. Richard Donner, the prolific Hollywood director and producer who helmed some of the biggest films of the 1970s and 80s, including Superman and The Goonies, has died aged 91. He died on Monday this week, the 5th of July, and his wife, the film producer, Lauren Schuler Donner, told Deadline. And obviously, as you'd expect, the tributes have poured in from around the entertainment industry, including from Steven Spielberg, no less, who wrote the story. For The Goonies, he paid tribute to Donner, calling him gifted across so many genres, and just listing some of the films, just a few of the films he's been involved with, I think really backs up that quote from Steven Spielberg. Not that a quote from Steven Spielberg needs backing up by me. Anyway, Spielberg went on to say, being in his circle was akin to hanging out with your favorite coach, smartest professor, fiercest motivator, most endearing friend, staunchest ally, and of course, the greatest Goonie of all, Spielberg said in a statement to Variety. But he wasn't done there. He went on to say he was all kid, all heart, all the time. I can't believe he's gone, but his husky, hearty laugh will stay with me for always. So he was age 91 when he passed on Monday. So let's dedicate this stream to the memory and to the amazing work that Richard Donner has provided for the world. Let me know in the comments your favorite Richard Donner film. I suppose Lethal Weapon and The Goonies, the most iconic ones, perhaps The Goonies. I know Superman's pretty iconic too, but I feel like, I wasn't born. I'm gonna have put this in there. I wasn't born when The Goonies came out, so I saw it a little bit later on, but it is still for me one of those kind of classic childhood movies. Still, therefore, more so than Lethal Weapon and Superman for me. So yeah, let me know. You pay your tributes in the chat. But sticking with that Goonies theme, I will come over to the chat in a moment. I can see some more of you have joined. Sticking with that Goonies theme with Lord of the Rings. Yes, there is a connection, of course. Sean Astin of the Goonies. And of course, Samwise Gamgee in Lord of the Rings has said stuff about the Amazon TV series, which I've talked about this before. I know a lot of you are Lord of the Rings fans, Tolkien fans. I'm kind of like, up and down about this series. First, I wasn't happy about it. Then I started to grow in terms of warming towards it. And then little things emerge and I'm not so sure again. But I'm going to be there, of course. Sean Astin, he has high hopes for it. He's, I guess, was in an interview and has been asked about it. And Digital Spy have typed whatever he said up. So let's find the quote. Yes, he spoke to Coming Soon, and he had some advice. And the advice is, my advice to them would be to enjoy the ride, because the fan base for the movies and the people who love the books is so massive that it was overwhelming to me when those movies came out. Yeah, there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure because there are a lot of fans. I mean, when the movies came out, I suppose you had a lot of fans that loved the books mostly. There was, a few sort of animated versions and what have you. But now you've got the films that were obviously a massive success. And for a lot of Lord of the Rings fans were their entry point and therefore at the top of their kind of tree. There are still a lot of Lord of the Rings fans who love the movies but still play the books at the top of the tree. Don't know why I'm talking about trees here. Tree beards. This series has got the pressure of having to, I guess, please both of those kind of fans in terms of their entry points to falling in love with this franchise. Anyway, enough of me, more of Sean. He says how much energy there was, how many people loved it, and all of it. So I think I'm reading this a little bit. I'm not reading this very well. So anyway, let's try again. How much energy there was, how many people loved it, and all of it. So I'm very excited to see how it turns out. And he also seems quite comfortable with Amazon taking control of it. He went on to suggest that Amazon was great to do it, revealing, I fully predicted in 2002 that it would be in 2020, 2021 that they would reboot it. I was specific about it, and people asked how I could be so sure. And I said, because I have that foresight. All right, Big Ed. Oh, he was joking. Hang on. No, because I know in a generation, people want to experience what they love again. I've always been a big one to support sequels and remakes, and particularly of classics. A lot of people think, why would you want to remake a classic? The good news is the classic will always remain. That's true. That's true. But there's still certain things that I feel should be untouchable. Anyway, he went on to say, so maybe somebody will do something interesting. And if it stinks, don't watch it. But I have every expectation that this Lord of the Rings adaptation is going to be amazing. I don't, but I would love it to be. I would love it to be. I'm not sitting here hoping it fails. I'm not that kind of guy. I want more. I want more. I have decided upon that. And this isn't this isn't strictly a reboot. It's set hundreds, thousands of years, I think, before the events of The Hobbit, even, let alone The Lord of the Rings. So it's not strictly a reboot, although I suppose it may end up rebooting certain characters down the line. Anyway, however, not everybody is as enthusiastic about this. I'm coming back to the chat in a second because you might have seen there's been a lot of controversy about this series with people leaving the production and also injuries. There's been a number of these injuries, and one of the stunt persons has spoken out on it recently. So this is on avclub.com. Former stunt person calls out Amazon's Lord of the Rings show so unsafe. A new report from the New Zealand Herald details at least 3 serious injuries on the mega budgeted show. I think it is going to be like the most expensive, if it's not already the most expensive TV shows of all time. It says so here. With the startup costs combined with the budget of the show's first season. The first season of a proposed 5. So they're talking about 5 seasons, expected to price out at $465 million US dollars, I presume. However, the New Zealand Herald, the country's largest newspaper, suggests that there may be problems on the set of the series, with at least one stunt performer alleging that they were subjected to unsafe practices while filming. Specifically, the report notes that 3 stunt workers on the show have been seriously injured during its shoot, including one performer, Eliza Cadwell, who reportedly received a $500,000 payment from Amazon after suffering an on-set injury. The Herald reports takes pains to make it clear that this payment was reportedly in part to help Cadwell get back home and settled in Australia, and was not an admission of guilt by Amazon. Additionally, Dana Grant, a veteran performer whose career stretches back to her days doubling for Lucy Lawless on the set of Xena, suffered as well, according to Deadline, from concussion while filming the show. I mean, if you're in the stunt business, it is a dangerous business, but it does sound like there's been some pretty serious injuries on this show, and I don't Google news. I don't Google news stunt injuries. So I don't know how frequent they are, but again, it is a pretty, it's one of those professions where you are putting yourself at risk of injury. Anyway, this is the stunt performer that went on the record with the Herald about safety concerns was Thomas Kiwi, who previously filmed on several of Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings and Hobbit movies. So I suppose he's got that comparison of the production there. Kiwi called out the show's handling of stunts as so unsafe, noting that he left the series in March after suffering a rotator cuff injury in the aftermath of a backflip stunt. Kiwi says that his concerns about his rigging for the stunt were glossed over by the show's staff, and that industry standard practices, including a meeting with the people who would be rigging him up for the wire work to talk over the stunt, were skipped. And he said they should be more onto it because there's a lot of bleep. There's, you know what as well in these streams that's happening in the stunt department, and a lot of unsafe stuff that's happened. I just left. So he left over these safety concerns. So yeah, so it's these injuries, it's not, going to stop me watching it, and it's not kind of shifting me back to not looking forward to it again. But there seems to be bad news following this series, wherever it goes. And wherever it goes, we still don't know exactly. We know it's going to Amazon, but we don't know when exactly. Anyway, I'm just rambling now, so I'm going to come back to the chat. What are people saying? Who's joined us since? Anders and Sidge were the last people I said hello to. Yes, Peter, I did use duct tape on Vigo. I absolutely did. And as you can see, it's only a matter of time before the duct tape gives in. Vigo will overpower that duct tape. Hello to Marcus O. And David Milano is in the house, and his shouts are for Richard Donner's greatest bits of work, Superman and The Twilight Zone. Frogger, I'll just wait and see what the Lord of the Rings series will be like. That's kind of all we can do, really, isn't it? I'm more hyped about the Rohirrim anime, though. Oh, we're going to talk about anime in a moment. You guys got to school me. Maybe you can school me, Frogger, on some anime. Peter, looking forward to the Lord of the Rings series, but there is not much material to work on, so open to it, and we'll see from there. Yeah, I think I was more like kind of uneasy about it when I kind of wrongly assumed it was going to be an actual reboot of the events of the Lord of the Rings, but now we know it's a prequel, essentially, and that certainly put me more at ease. And Frogger's in agreement with Peter. There is not really any character arcs in the Silmarillion. I can never say that. Hope they had brilliant geeky writers for the story. And Frogger's also adding that they will reboot Galadriel for sure. Philip Hawkins, who we'll be talking to very soon. Looking forward to the Lord of the Rings series. My wife is the big Lord of the Rings geek in the family, though, so I think she's probably looking forward to it more. Hey, Marcus, it's coming home, is it? Is it coming home? Let's hope so. Right, so what we're going to do now is bring up another story. It's hot in the shed tonight. Oh, by the way, does the sound different tonight? And if it does, please say better. No, be honest with me. Does the sound different? And if so, better? Worse? I'm hoping better, because I got a new microphone, people. So please don't get me down. Don't think I can send it back. I've actually had it for a few weeks, but didn't have a chance to set it up. Right, okay, let's bring in another story, but keep your thoughts coming in on Richard Donner, and also the Lord of the Rings series as well. Liam Robertson says it sounds good. Thank you, Liam. Hope you're well, mate. And Anders has added that it sounds more crisp. It should do. We've got Ken Knapsack on next week for the chat batch, and I know he's always making fun of the Blue Yetis. Now, this microphone, to be fair, like, I've been around some decent microphones in my time, coming from a radio background, but obviously with my budget, this microphone has served me very well. It's like £100. US dollars. What's that? What's that? We're talking Brexit pounds here. So probably like 140 US dollars. This, I haven't got like an affiliate link in the description or anything, but this microphone has served me very well. And I know Ken Knapsack is very mean about these microphones, but if you're new to this, if you're getting into this and you want a microphone, the Blue Yeti is really good, but it's just started to become a bit unreliable. Years later, the connection's really loose, which is why I often lost the sound in the streams. And also it's really, really heavy. And I've got a lot of traveling coming up. So needed something a little bit lighter and more reliable in terms of the connection. Oh, here he is. Ken Knapsack, who's now backpedaling, I think. Ken, you've definitely been quite mean about the Blue Yetis in the past. I only poke fun to force you to buy things, Jamie. Buy. Yeah, I think all of your kind of mean comments about the Blue Yeti was actually what initially inspired me to buy the Blue Yeti, which was a few years ago now. But yeah, Ken, are you still on for next week? I'm kind of putting the pressure on you now in front of people, but obviously, if you're not, it's no problem. But let me know. SS says it's sounding good as well. All right, that's enough about my my new microphone. David Milano as well. Oh, anime. Okay, let's talk Star Wars Visions because David Milano is talking about anime. I know nothing about anime. Star Wars Visions, the little bit we know about Star Wars Visions is pretty much all I know about anime, and that it's Japanese. I've been to Japan. I've been before. Been to Japan. So, anime expert here. Ken is definitely here next week. Looking forward to it. Blue Yeti sounds like one of those things you should never Google. You sound like Ken Napzok now. Don't be mean about the Blue Yeti. Very good microphone. Very good microphone for YouTube, I think. Good price point as well. Right. Okay. Frogger and Dave Milano are talking about things I don't understand, anime stuff. So let's talk about the only anime thing I maybe understand at the moment a little bit is the Star Wars Visions. So let's bring up something because since we last spoke, they released a little little teaser trailer treat. Yeah, so what did you guys think of this? I know they had it was part of a panel. I didn't see the panel. Don't know if any of you guys signed up for the panel. I've just seen this teaser trailer, and I have also read a little bit about what people said in the panel. But from what I understand, it's an anime anthology series, and it's apparently going to take us in unexplored directions, and will be 9 parts long. Is that right? 9 parts long, but it says 7 Japanese anime studios. So some of the studios doing more than one episode. I presume so, because the notes I have here says 9 parts long. My notes are often wrong, so maybe my notes are just wrong. And yeah, they're visions of Star Wars as according to different anime creators. And I think we've learned very recently that these are not canon. I believe that's been confirmed. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I've got a quote here from James Ward, the executive producer. He said, "We really wanted to give these creators a wide creative berth to explore all of the imaginative potential of the Star Wars galaxy through the unique lens of anime." Ward said at the Anime Expo Light, which was the panel. "We realized we wanted these to be as authentic as possible to the studios and creators who are making them, made through their unique process. In a medium they're such experts at. So the idea was this is their vision riffing off all the elements of the Star Wars galaxy that inspired them, hopefully to make a really incredible anthology series unlike anything we've seen before in the Star Wars galaxy." And one thing you can take from this kind of teaser clip is that the creators that you hear from are all big Star Wars fans. So, for some of them, this is such a huge deal, which is obviously reassuring and just nice to hear anyway. And I presume every episode is going to be unique. And again, correct me. I should say if I'm wrong, correct me when I'm wrong. It's probably more appropriate when we're referring to words coming out of my mouth. That the only familiar Star Wars characters that we know so far that will be in this are Jabba and Boba. That's what I've spotted. Anyway, so yeah, what do you guys think of this? I mean, are you, if you're an anime fan, does this cut it for you from what you've seen so far? If you're not an anime fan, is it piquing your interest? The fact it's not canon, do you think that's a good or bad thing? Personally, I think that's probably a better thing. I don't know if it's good or bad, but I think it's probably a better thing actually, which is essentially good. Because I don't know, I think this is something so different, for Star Wars. It doesn't need to have any shackles attached to it. Give them that creative freedom where it doesn't have to join dots, etc. Let's see what you guys think. So where was I? Peter asks, on a side note, any thoughts on the High Republic? Peter is considering buying both books. I've not read them. I know I sort of get into reading, but I've still not read them. So if anyone else has any thoughts for Peter on that, let him know. Exactly, Frogger. You know, one step at a time. You just got me into animation recently, so anime. You know, we're taking baby steps right now. Let's get the Bad Batch finished. September 22nd is the release date for Visions. Liam says the Studio Trigger short sounds great. Supreme Leader Brad Snoke says not one for anime traditionally, but dang, does the Visions trailer get me pumped. It's beautiful, isn't it? It is beautiful looking, you know. I'm therefore excited to kind of like feast my eyes on them, you know, just give my eyes something really delicious to look at for I guess these are going to be pretty short because they are shorts. Yeah, you know, I'm there for the visuals of Visions already. And hopefully anything else, you know, a good story will be a bonus on top. Anyway, Brad said before I cut him off, we'll rewind a little bit. But dang, does the Visions trailer get me pumped for new Star Wars set in that genre? Seems very fitting, actually, in my opinion. Frogger asks, have you ever watched TIE Fighter, the fan-made anime version of Star Wars? No, I haven't, Frogger. Is it on YouTube? I'll look it up, but I haven't. I assume you have. Is anyone else in the chat? Hey, Glenn, the geeky hippie. Wakey. Welcome back. You've missed Lord of the Rings chat. You've missed Vigo chat, who's temporarily back on the wall. And we also pay tribute to Richard Donner as well, who we're dedicating this stream to. Frogger, George Lucas borrowed many elements from Japanese movie making. Absolutely. So Star Wars and anime works really well. IMO. There's a lot of IMOing tonight. Anders. I'll be interested in checking out Visions. Glad they're dropping all the episodes at once. Oh, are they? I didn't spot that. So that's cool. Yeah, these are shorts, aren't they? These are actually shorts because, you know, in the end, the Mandalorian episodes were shorter than we thought, but these are actually going to be shorts compared to the shorter Mandalorian episodes. So yeah, this could be a nice binge. I don't think you can release like it's going to be 10 minutes or something? I don't think you can release a 10-minute episode a week. Can you really? I mean, obviously if it's something on YouTube, you could, but anyway, maybe not for Disney Plus. David's here. Hello there, friends. Hello to you, David. Good to see you, my friend. Glenn the Geeky Hippie says Donna was a brilliant man. And TIE Fighter, the fan-made anime short film that Frogger mentioned, is on YouTube. So I guess if you search for TIE Fighter, Star Wars, fan, film, anime, all those keywords, it should come up. David Milano on his channel making this up as a go. I think it's a very good thing for Lucasfilm to embrace creating non-canon content. More variety, more weird ideas, more creativity, always good. And hopefully a little less precious about the IP. Absolutely. I'm with you on that. Again, you know, I'm not going to pretend to be, you know, a huge lover of anime. I could become one. Who knows? This is going to be my entry point to anime. And I kind of feel like, I know some of you have been suggesting some animes in the chat. I kind of feel like I want to keep it that way. You know, maybe just sort of have Star Wars anime as my entry point, then go and discover, you know, what inspired it, where it all came from, and the other works that these studios have done. I don't know. Do you think that's a good approach? But I'm definitely with you, David, in terms of embracing more non-canon content. You know, again, like I said earlier, this is something different, you know, and these creators are from a different kind of world in a way of creativity. So, you know, why shackle them? Stan Liotti's here. Hello, Stan Liotti. And also not David Beckham, but David Beckman is here. Sidge says, Vision sounds like a bit like the Animatrix, which has mixed results. SS, meanwhile, very much looking forward to Visions. I love the art style of anime. I definitely love that already, having not have actually sat through and watched anything anime related. I definitely love the visuals. So, that's already got me. Even if I wasn't invested in Star Wars as much as I am already, I think I would still be lured in by those visuals. It does look very beautiful. Are you looking forward to the new Batman movie, Jamie? Yeah, I've lost track of when it's coming out, though. When is it coming out now? I have lost track. But I do the odd. You may know, you may not know. I do the odd movie location video on the channel, which I need to start editing. I've got so many back from when we could travel that I still haven't edited. I'm going to put a Marvel one out actually. Maybe next week, because obviously Black Widow's here. So and I can't go and see Black Widow. I've got to wait till it comes on Disney Plus. But at the same time, I might wait even longer and see it on the big screen. I'm in a kind of sort of quarantine at the moment for 2 weeks, which runs out a week Saturday. It's like a light quarantine light. I can leave the house. I can go for walks, and runs. I don't run, but I could if I wanted to. So yeah, but I can't go to like bars, restaurants, and cinemas, and to watch the football with my friends, which is not fair. So anyway, tangent there, but I might release a where they made that movie location for Marvel films that were made in South Korea, because when I was working in South Korea a couple of years ago, I did some filming there. Anyway, that's got nothing to do with what you asked me. Yes, I am looking forward to the Batman movie. I don't know when it's coming out anymore. I've lost track of it, but the reason I brought up the movie locations thing was because I've got this penciled in for the future to do one on, because they've been filming in Liverpool, London, and Glasgow, I believe. As well, so plenty of locations in the UK. No, I can watch the football, but I've got to watch it on my own behind closed doors. I can't go to, like I used to be. I'm still a football fan, but I used to be a huge football fan. I used to go to a lot of the England games, actually around Europe as well. I used to spend my student loan on traveling, following England playing, and then soon ran out of money and had to very quickly get a job at uni. But no harm there. I used to go to a lot of the England games, and now finally, the first time in my lifetime we're in a final, I've got to sit at home and watch it on a laptop. Anyway, Sige is off to band practice. Have a good band practice, mate. I know you've messaged me on Patreon. I'm gonna. I saw it on the email. I haven't logged into Patreon, but I'm gonna reply to you later, mate, or if not tomorrow. But anyway, yeah, I'm looking forward to the Batman. Longest answer. I am looking forward to the Batman. Are you, Stanley? And are you pleased? Are you in on the old bats? Do you think Robert Pattinson is going to be a good Batman? He's grown on me. He's grown on me. I've not seen much of it, obviously, like everybody else, but he's grown on me. Right, okay. I think we're now going to move into the chat batch mode. So if you have not been watching the Bad Batch, if you're trying to avoid any Bad Batch spoilers, this is your cue to do one, to go away, to leave this stream immediately. Not immediately, but we can confirm that Stanley Otti is 100% looking forward to the Batman. So yeah, we'll do some chat batch. Here's the logo that David, aka Jones Capone, made for me. Beautiful, isn't it? And actually, also, I've mentioned this a few times, Sige, who is no longer with us, he's gone off to band practice, he came up with the name, because I hate coming up with names. I think maybe I did ask people, actually. I can't remember now. But anyway, Sige came up with the name. I'm terrible at coming up with names. I did come up with the name Lightspeed Tonight, though. That's my greatest hit. I did not come up with the name The Empire Strikes Door, though. That was Vince, who some of you are familiar with. Anyway, we're going to do the chat batch. So each week we look back at the most recent episode of the Bad Batch, and we just chat about it, really. As always, it's very interactive. So we are all part of the chat batch. So give us your thoughts in the chat. Stanley Otti can't be spoiled. We're not going to spoil you, Stanley. Stanley is leaving. So this is once again your final warning. If you're you've not seen episode 10 of The Bad Batch and you want to avoid spoilers, now is your final warning to vacate the room. So yeah, we chat together and we chat with a guest as well. So I'm going to bring in this week's guest, who you might be familiar with. Oh, what have I done here? You might be familiar with, actually, from the chat room here on the Geeknd Live on a weekly basis. He pops up in the chat. It's Philip Hawkins. So I'm going to bring Philip in. Here he is. Philip, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
I can. I'm just going to turn you up a little. There we go. Beautiful. Hopefully everybody can hear you, Philip. I think they can. Nobody's reporting otherwise. So, yeah, good to see you. So, we've spoken before. I've been on your channel, on your Red Dwarf podcast. But really, in terms of the Geeknd, this is your first kind of in-person appearance, because you have appeared, but in kind of like comments on videos and in the chat as well.
Yes. Yeah, usually this is on while I'm bathing my children. So I've got my phone in one hand listening to you and chatting while I'm supervising them in the bath. So thankfully my wife is taking care of that this evening. So
mate, that is some serious multitasking. Engaging with a very engaging live stream and washing a human at the same time.
Yep.
Very impressive. I don't think I could ever live up to that, because multitasking does not certainly come naturally to me. But I mean, life in general, you do seem to multitask quite a lot. Obviously, washing humans as well, and watching this live stream, and your Red Dwarf podcast and your YouTube channel, as well as all of the other stuff going on in your life as well. But let's focus on that YouTube channel for a moment. I know a few of the guys in the chat, Nova channel, they know you. David, for example, is saying hello, as is Peter, and also Frogger. And I saw Glenn said hello to you as well. So you are a familiar face and name, and I think your YouTube channel is familiar to a lot of people in the chat batch. So for anyone who is discovering you for the first time, tell us a little bit about the Philip Hawkins YouTube channel.
So yeah, it is, the name of it is just my name, but I talk about all sorts of geeky pop culture, really. I've done very little Star Wars, I'm now realizing, despite it being one of like the franchises that I watch quite a lot. I think the last video I did on Star Wars was Doctor Who actors who have also been in Star Wars. I did a video on that a few years ago.
And there's quite a few, isn't there? Sorry to cut you off there. There's quite a few. I mean, Jeremy Bulloch is well, it's more of the old guard, isn't it? We're talking older Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Give us your top 5. In fact, don't give top 5, because then people won't bother watching the video. Give us your top 3, maybe.
Well, you know, I'll give you. I mean, there is literally loads. I went through cross-referencing IMDb, so I've got even people that play the smallest characters in both Doctor Who and Star Wars. If they've played the smallest characters, they're still in there. But some of the big ones are Tom Baker has voiced a character in one of the animated series, so the 4th Doctor. David Tennant has also voiced an animated character, and then there were lots of people that were, just because obviously the originals were filmed in the UK for some of it, there were a lot of people that were just very small parts in both of them, that like might have played a stormtrooper in one and then like had a scene in a Doctor Who or something like that, so they're all in there as well. But I think anytime a Doctor from Doctor Who is in Star Wars, that's always good. We almost had Matt Smith as well, didn't we? Because he was rumored to be in one, but then he wasn't.
Yeah, also hello to Jane Flakes as well. Yeah, there was very kind of solid rumors that Matt Smith was in The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. Maybe he ended up on the cutting room floor, or I don't know if he got cut out before that stage. Who knows?
Or it was just one of those rumors that weren't true, was never true.
Could be.
But yeah, your channel is I don't know, would you say predominantly Doctor Who?
I would say about at least 50% of it is Doctor Who videos. I've tried to branch out more and more, so I've been doing a lot of Star Trek videos. Hopefully that's not too controversial on a Star Wars channel. And also MCU videos. And I do want to do more Star Wars ones as well. I just didn't have time to weekly review Bad Batch when it started, so I haven't done that. And but I am looking for more ideas for Star Wars as well.
Yeah, well, I think, Star Wars is one of those franchises that isn't slowing down. So you won't be short of ideas, I don't think, moving forward at any point, possibly for the rest of your life with Star Wars. But what's the, because I'm not a big Doctor Who fan. What's the current situation with Doctor Who? Because I heard that there's going to be a new Doctor, and it
At the
sounds
moment
like
they're filming the next series currently.
Oh, okay.
So that's with Jodie Whittaker still.
Yeah.
They're in the middle of filming as we speak. I don't think they've wrapped the filming on that series yet. And although they haven't officially released a date, I think the assumption is that it will air in the autumn. And beyond that, we don't know what's happening beyond that series, how long Jodie's sticking around for. I mean, it will be her third series, so that tends to be the amount that most of the modern Doctors have done, 3 series and maybe some specials. So who knows what will happen at the end of that series.
To be honest, I just had in my head that things were, in a bad place at the moment. That's purely from just seeing tweets that I don't understand. And I'm just thinking perhaps Doctor Who's entered the kind of weirdness of the Star Wars fandom online in terms of debate, shall we say.
There are some very polarized camps, let's say, within the fandom of Doctor Who at the moment. I tend to enjoy most of it. Most eras, there's something I like, and there's good episodes and there's bad episodes. But I'm certainly not hating an era as a whole. So hopefully there's some more good stuff in this coming series.
Yeah. All right then. Well, let's talk about the Bad Batch. So, episode 10, Common Ground. Let's before we get into the details of that episode, just generally for you, how's the series been overall for you so far?
It's been enjoyable. I've I haven't watched all of the animated series. Like I didn't watch all of Rebels and I didn't watch all of Clone Wars. I watched bits of both. So I watched the first 2 series of Rebels and the first series of Clone Wars. So I wasn't up to date with who the Bad Batch were before this started, and I knew I didn't have time to catch up. So I went into it knowing that I wouldn't know, but I wanted to keep up with one from the start for a change. I will catch up on the rest eventually, but it's been okay. It's not been like, it hasn't bowled me over and wowed me on a week by week basis. I don't think there's been any bad episodes. There's just been it's been building. And I think that's from what I've seen of the other series as well, like Rebels. Actually, I might have seen a bit of series 3 of Rebels as well. That got progressively better as it went along, and they got more into the more in-depth storyline. So I imagine this will do something similar, but I am enjoying it, and I'm liking seeing like those really early days of the Empire and how they're and we get a bit of that in the beginning of this episode, how they're cementing their control and things. I'm liking seeing that.
Yeah, so Bad Batch by name, but not Bad Batch by nature for you, but equally you're not, as you said yourself, completely bowled over by it. However, I seem to vaguely remember you giving decent scores generally when you've been in the chat on the chat batch, towards the end.
I think every score has been somewhere between 6 and 8. I may have even given a 9 on one of them, possibly. I can't remember now in the chat. But there has been some really good episodes. I think last week's was really good. One of the best, I think. And that first episode was really good as well. Really enjoyed that first episode. And then the rest have been good, but not, wow, that was amazing, if you see what I mean.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I mean, I think I've been pretty honest with my kind of thoughts on each episode, and some people think I've been given quite low scores, but I will always point out that every score I've given has been above average. I think the lowest I've gone is like a 6 or a 6.5. I've gone as high as a 7.5 as well. I'm a bit like you. I'm enjoying it, but there's still it's not got me counting down the days, for a new episode, like say The Mandalorian did, or even WandaVision, actually, to bring up something a bit more recent. But let's focus on episode 10 now, Common Ground. So the Bad Batch is sent to rescue a separatist senator, which is kind of going against their clone ideologies, which for me sounds quite interesting. I don't think that it quite got the payoff. We were quite given the payoff I was hoping for. Again, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I wasn't asked about this episode, to be honest. Sorry, I wasn't asked about this episode. To be honest, I am happy to elaborate on that. But first, Phil, how did it leave you feeling? Episode 10.
I think I have probably, by the sounds of it, the same feelings about what the potential that was in this episode and how it paid off, because they did seem to make it signal that they were going in on this, like the fact that they would be torn because they're rescuing a separatist and that's who they were fighting against before. And then they sort of doubled down on that when they got to the planet and found out that it was a droid that had hired them. And of course they've been fighting droids. So I thought they were going to explore that sort of inner struggle a bit more of like, having to come to terms with the fact that the people they were fighting are now potentially their allies now. So but they didn't really, after that point, after that comment to the droid when they landed, it didn't really come up again. So I kind of felt like that was a little bit of a wasted potential there, because there's a lot of good character stuff they could have done with that.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Didn't seem to go anywhere.
I agree. No, I'm absolutely on the same page as you there. I did like the humanizing of the separatists, with seeing the actual day everyday people or aliens, the kind of general separatist public that we saw on the planet. Because usually I suppose we see the leaders, who are obviously portrayed as the bad guys, the separatist leaders, the corrupt bad guys, rather than seeing the general public who might have maybe been tricked by their leaders, or might have legit issues against the Republic. And obviously these were people that were affected by the war as well. So, we didn't see much of it, but the little bit we did see was cool. And, I thought there was some good potential there for some really nice world beating. But then, as you said, it kind of, petered off a little bit. And we didn't learn much about the senator, who I think he actually said himself, we just have to trust him. It would have been quite cool to sort of hear about what his grievance with the Republic was, and his view of the Empire. Does he see it as a separate thing, or does he see it as a continuation of the Republic? Does he? Obviously, we know the Empire is a very different thing to Republic, but how did he see it through his separatist eyes? And maybe these are things we will learn, maybe we won't. Maybe it's just not that important. But again, with the title and, some of the comments that were made early on, I also thought these were things that we were going to sort of see more of. And yeah. So no, I'm with you on that. And going back to that ideology as well, because I think it's Echo, isn't it, that sort of voiced most of all his kind of not really wanting to help a separatist kind of beef. So yeah, it just would have been, for me, it would have been cool to kind of dig into that more. And I really thought that's what this episode was going to be about. But yeah, that hadn't changed by the end of the episode, really. We didn't know much more about this ideology, or how Echo felt by the end of the episode.
Yeah, there could have just been a scene in there or something where there was a bit of conflict between them. Maybe they get into an argument with the senator while they're rescuing him, while they're in the tunnels, maybe, or something like that. Just like something that really exposes that sort of conflict of previous ideologies. And then maybe then they could have resolved it by the end if the senator does something really heroic and saved one of their lives somehow or something like that. Just that I don't want to rewrite the whole episode, but that kind of thing was what I was kind of expecting given the setup.
Yeah, and Glenn says separatists have even more reasons to distrust the Empire, I think. And again, that would have been a theme to sort of dig into, which I know these episodes are short, and also they are made for kids as well. But yeah, I mean, it's just something I would have liked from this episode, to dig into more of that. And if separatists do have more reason, like Glenn said, to distrust the Empire, hear about that? Why? Or equally, do they just see it as a continuation of the Republic, which of course we already know they have grievances with?
I don't
there
know.
is.
Sorry.
No, go on.
I was going to say about the voice of the senator as well, because when he first started speaking, I don't know what it was, but there was something that just didn't quite feel right. Like the voice didn't match the build of the guy, and how he looked. And then I looked up who it was that was playing him, and it's Alexander Siddig, who is Jimmy Bashir.
Glenn mentioned that,
off of Deep Space Nine, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, which then made sense because like he is a very different, like this guy is a very imposing sort of big guy, senator, and Alexander Siddig is quite a lanky guy. And I think so even before I knew who it was, I was like, something isn't quite right. The voice doesn't quite match the physique of the guy and the look of the guy and what the voice I would expect to come out of that character. So that was kind of already throwing me off slightly at that point. So I don't know. That may just be me.
Yeah, well, the another voice, another famous voice in it as well was, and I didn't pick up on this at the time. I just saw someone, I think, tweet about it. The senator's droid was voiced by Sean Clifford from Fleabag. So
okay.
There you go, people. So that is now 2 actors who have made their names on Fleabag that have voiced droids in Star Wars now. There we go. Phoebe Waller-Bridge's droid in Solo being the other one. Can't remember the droid's name. What was the droid's name in Solo? Anyway, Gaz Nottingham is here. Hello there. Just arrived late to the party. Gonna have to re-watch tonight. Hope you are well. Gaz, so let us know your thoughts on episode 10 of the Bad Batch. We'll be asking for your marks out of 10 very soon. I can see there's a lot of chatter going on in the chat, which is always good to see. And I also noticed that Frogger and Glenn agreed on something again, which is, as I think Frogger has said already, is becoming a habit, a really weird habit, because you're usually in a very nice way bickering, the pair of you bickering in the chat. I have to say, I did enjoy the kind of not cutaways, but the cutbacks to Amiga and her eventual paying off the debt to Sid.
Yeah, that was quite nice. It was like a nice little bonding sort of scene between the two of them. So even though Sid's motivation for it was selfish and for profit, by the end of it, it felt like they'd got a connection, which was quite nice.
Yeah, and also there was that moment as well with Hunter. It kind of almost actually seemed a bit random the way he came out of it, but that moment where he was like, tell Amiga to do this while they're on the mission, and he's like, oh no, wait, we left her behind. And by the end of the episode, he's like, I'm never going to leave you behind again, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So there was a little bit more bond building between those two as well. But Amiga again started off as his character. I just assumed was going to be annoying, but she's a character that week on week is growing on me. Are you on board with this character, Amiga?
Yeah, I'm on board with this character, and I like the way that the show itself seems to be dealing with all of the kind of like issues that fans have been bringing up. It's like they almost deal with it in the show anyway. So, like, I've seen people go, why would they bring her along on missions that are, she's a danger? And they've addressed that a couple of times in a couple of different ways. So here it's like they do leave her back behind because they think they don't want to make her, to put her in danger. But by the end of it, they're like, okay, maybe you have some value that we can use on the missions, and you can stand up for yourself, and your strategic thinking might be good. So if you win this game, you can come on the next mission. We don't get to see if she wins, though, do we? So I don't think. Did we see if she wins? No, we didn't, did we?
Well, she paid off the debt, didn't she?
Yeah. But then at the end, Hunter says to her,
Oh,
okay,
with him,
have a
no,
game with me, and
yeah.
and then if you win this, you can come on the missions.
I think we were
but
just
never
sort of
see
left
that.
we were left to assume that she would
think so.
win. She would win. The droid, by the way, L337. That's the droid from Solo, played by Phoebe Waller-Bridge, I believe. Thank you, Gaz Nottingham. Oh, it's gone quiet in the background now. It sounded for a moment like you had a human that needed washing in the background, crying out to be washed.
I had a human that had just come down from being washed and made a bit of noise in the background.
Clean human. That's always good. That's always good. Jane Flake's Amiga paying the debt was a get out of jail free card for the gangs, and maybe they can all head off on adventures. Yeah, maybe that is actually, without realizing, this episode has actually moved the storyline on more than we knew. The main kind of crux of the story on the planet with the senator was actually almost like the sideline thing. It was what was going on back with Sid that maybe has potentially moved this story on more, because as Jane says, the debt's paid, so they can all head off on adventures now without having the chain and ball of Sid attached to them. Maybe this will allow things to step up now, Jane said.
It also makes it that Sid is like the bond that seems to be growing between her and Omega means that Sid is less likely to betray them, because at the beginning I kind of got the feeling that if the Empire showed up, she'd give them up like that. But I think the longer that she spends time with them, they're showing us that she might still do that, but she might be more loyal to them as the sort of relationship goes, and they're showing that to us. So it kind of makes sense, because if they showed up and they hadn't done all these scenes with her, I would be asking, well, why, given her character, why is she not just giving them up? Because that's what, she's an underworld sort of black market person. That's kind of what you'd expect them to do.
Yeah, she is becoming, I think, an important character and an ally to the Bad Batch. And I don't think this will be the last of Sid. Glenn says, I'll just miss having Rhea Perlman in every episode. She's great as Sid. I would be surprised if this is the last we see of Sid, to be honest. But looking forward, I can see our first score out of 10 has come in. I'll come back to that in a moment. We are approaching that time. But before then, where do you think? What do you think is coming up? Have you got any mad theories on where this series is taking us?
Nothing really mad. I think I've just got the popular theories that everybody has, that they at some point the Kaminoans are going to try and use the clones against the Empire, and the Empire is going to wipe them out. Or the Empire is going to preemptively wipe them out because they find out about a plan to do that. Maybe the Kaminoans don't ever get around to actually activating that plan, but they're discovered before they can, or something, and we just get the plotting of it. Because the clones have to be taken out somehow, because we know they don't exist by the time of A New Hope. So, so I think that's kind of my only really big theory, but that's a theory everyone has. I can't claim that it's an original one.
Yeah, but talking about the clones, I remember when Alex from Star Wars Explained was on the chat batch a few weeks back. I remember, I don't know if I asked him or someone in the chat asked him whether we would see that transition from clones to stormtroopers, and he didn't think we would see it yet, because there is a school of thought that this is going to be a multi-series thing. But that's certainly something down the line that I'd definitely be keen to see play out in front of me eyes. And also, Frogger says Sid did bring an interesting vibe to the series. Why is everyone speaking like she's gone? I don't think it's the last we've seen of Sid. Gaz is starting the confusion again. Gaz, speaking about mad theories moving forward, Gaz is still clinging to his 5th Bad Batch member reveal theory. Were you watching last week, Phil?
Yes, yeah.
Do you remember Gaz's theory? Because at one point I understood it and it was really interesting, and it's still really interesting. But then I think it was Chad the Stopwatch Campbell, who is not here tonight. He said something that just threw my mind, and I didn't understand the theory after then. And it was all Chad's fault. Do you remember that?
I can't remember exactly what it was. No, that might have been a bit. There were many messages of many chat comments of people sort of mentioning a 5th member in different contexts. So I wasn't sure who was referring to it in what way.
Yeah, no, I've spoken to Gaz since on Twitter, and it was a good theory, and I got it, and it's left my head for now, and partly to blame is still Chad, but I remember Star Wars Meg, who was the guest last week as well. She also felt it was an interesting theory. So yes, Gaz is still clinging on to that fifth Bad Batch member reveal theory. We'll go back into that in detail maybe in another week. Gaz, could you message it to me again on Twitter maybe, and I'll read it out again. I'll get my head around it. And we'll talk about it next week, perhaps. And then we've got it there. We've got it on record once again that it was your theory. So if it does eventually come true, you'll get the glory you deserve, whatever that may be. Right, let's just do a few more comments. Then we're going to get the scores out of 10. So, Philip, have a little think about what you want to give this episode out of 10. Gaz Nottingham, Sid is awesome. Another cast member from Cheers. Just need to get Ted Danson next. Glenn, I think the clone troopers have a couple more years left before they all disappear. Yeah, because excuse me, because at first when thinking back to, it was a long time ago now, the pilot, the really extra long pilot episode of the Bad Batch, it almost felt like this was going to be a really quick transition. When Tarkin was in town and his dislike of the clones, it did feel like it was going to be a really excuse me again, quick transition from clones to troopers, but stormtroopers. But I think Glenn's right. It's going to be a couple of years left, or at least another series after this. This one, Jane Flakes, the Empire will wipe out the Kaminoans, kill most of the clones. Amiga will cry over the corpses, and the Bad Batch will all cry into our Bad Batch, and we will all cry into our Bad Batch figures. That's quite a kind of dreary outlook on where this series is going, Jane.
We'll all just end up in
times.
A puddle of tears.
Yeah, it sounds that way. It does sound that way. Like, yes, we are all going to be in the puddle of tears. Few more comments. Yeah, Jane. Yeah, evil from Glenn there. Crosshair is the fourth. Glenn says Grogu is the fifth. The mysterious fifth Bad Batch member. In fact, Gaz is just... my Twitter's gone off. Right. This was Gaz's original message from last week. It started with, "Hello there. I think there is a clone we haven't met yet that has the same properties as the Bad Batch. Previously, we heard there were 5 altered clones, and we all assumed it was Amiga. So earlier on in the Bad Batch, it was stated that there were 5 altered clones.
Yeah, because one of the main cast isn't an altered clone, is he? He's not. I can't remember which one.
No,
it is.
Echo's not an altered clone. So Wrecker, Hunter, Tech, Crosshair, yeah, Crosshair. So they're the 4 altered clones that we know of. Echo joined the Bad Batch later on. He wasn't part of their actual batch, if you will. And then like I said, people assumed it would be Amiga, but we know that's not the case now, because we know, or we think we know. And I know Star Wars Mega last week had some doubts about this, but we think we know where Amiga came from, and she's pure, isn't she? So, that's Gaz's theory. And I can't remember what Chad says, but I think it said, but it's better not to remember what Chad said, because that then that theory, that is really interesting and makes sense to me. Chad said something that just, everything went weird in my head, at least. So, it's an interesting theory. So once again, it's on record. That's Gaz Nottingham's theory. Right. No, Gaz, glory is always required. You will get the glory if it comes to pass. I don't know what the glory will be, but
I've just remembered one other thing I was going to mention about the senator, which I just have to get in there because it's so ridiculous, that when he's escaping, he makes he deliberately puts his massive red hat on, because I was just there thinking, that's a big target you're putting on your head there. It's like going, here I am, big red hat. Yeah, and it was, he may as well just morphed into a giraffe, so like, do you want to stand out anymore? And he was almost a bit reluctant to leave his people right at the end. Even he almost didn't actually leave with the Bad Batch, did he? But I wonder if we'll learn more about him. I don't think we will, though. I think that's probably that. He might pop up in I don't know, with the beginnings of the rebellion or something like that. If we ever
Yeah.
see any of that.
Yeah, I mean, quite often with these things, with Star Wars, things happen for a reason. Even thinking back to the first series of The Mandalorian, Fennec Shan's appearance and apparent death, and it all seemed a little bit random to bring her in and kill her off so quickly. But of course, there were far bigger plans in place for her. I don't think those level of plans will be in place for that senator, but still, there's things happen for a reason in Star Wars more often than not. Okay. Right, everybody, the time has come. We're going to wrap up in a couple of minutes. So if you could, please leave your marks out of 10 in the chat. Gaz, do you mind putting yours back in? I know you left it in a little earlier on, but I'm too lazy to scroll. It hurts your fingers. If not, I will scroll up for you, Gaz. I think it was an 8.5, but anyway, please confirm that in the chat. Meanwhile, whilst we wait for the scores to come in, Philip, what would you give the chat? Well, the Bad Batch, not the chat batch. Don't grade the chat batch. Don't do that. Grade the Bad Batch, episode 10, Common Ground. What would you give it out of 10?
I'm going to give this episode 6.5 out of 10.
Okay, so that's like a kind of based on your other scores. That seems kind of in the middle.
Yeah, it's not terrible. I mean, it's not terrible. It's not a bad. Like I say, I don't think there's been a bad episode. It's just there wasn't anything other than Omega. There was some nice character stuff with Omega, but like the Bad Batch themselves didn't really get any sort of interesting character moments in this. It was just sort of a mission. They went in and grabbed the senator and got out again. There was the thing I like the senator himself. While I think Alexander Siddig is a great actor, I just don't think he necessarily fitted that role. And that whole stuff about the potential that it had with the setting up the common ground stuff and having to rescue somebody who had previously been your enemy, and they didn't really go anywhere with it. So it's more lack of stuff rather than anything bad. There wasn't anything majorly that I really hated in it, but it was just lack of fulfilling its potential, I think.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. It definitely, or at least in my head, I created a lot of potential for it based on some of the early remarks and the title of the episode, but it certainly did not fulfill, whatever was in my head. Maybe that's my fault, not the creator's fault, but I'm with you on that. So you're going with a 6.5 then?
6.5, yeah.
6.5. All right, then. Let's pop over to the chat. I can see Glenn's score is here. 7.5 from Glenn. He adds it was pretty good, but not amazing like the last couple were. And that's the thing as well. It's a good point from Glenn. We have come off a batch of 3 really top episodes.
Yeah,
we have.
The last several have been really good.
Yeah. So this kind of felt like what Peter said here, a filler episode. 6 out of 10 from Peter there. Jane Flakes has given it a 7 out of 10. So I think Glenn, the Geeky Hippie, has the highest score so far of a 7.5. The lowest score so far from Frogger, boring episode, 5.5. Glenn has added, I don't know if Filoni shows actually do fillers, since they always seem to end up having been important later on. Yeah, and maybe, like we said before, the senator introducing him might have been for a bigger reason that we'll learn later. But as things stand, I'm with Peter. It did feel like a filler episode to me. But there's no problem with that. We've just had 3 tremendous eps. Frog also says, had to rewatch it today to even remember what happened on the last episode. Yeah. I luckily, actually, I only watched this one a couple of days ago, so it was fairly fresh in my head still, at least coming into the chat batch today. And Glenn also reminds us that we got Cad Bane 2 episodes in a row, and I don't think we've seen the last of him in this series either. SS, another 5.5 out of 10. Yes, some wasted story opportunity. And you know what? Same as SS, same as Frogger, I'm also going to give this a 5.5, which is the lowest score I've given so far. But I can't speak for Frogger, I can't speak for SS, but a 5.5 from me. I would like to remind people I look at 5 as being average. And there's nothing wrong with being average. Average is average. Average is not bad. So for me, that's just slightly above average was episode 10, Common Ground. But it is the lowest score I've given so far. And I think I've been giving an average of 6.5, a couple of 7s or so. But anyway. Jane, final comment from Jane. May not be the final one. It's up to you, Jane. Also, with the debt paid off and Amiga showing new skills, this was development. This is going somewhere. Yeah, no, I do agree. That was a good point that Jay made earlier. You know, obviously the main events were happening with the senator and trying to rescue him on the planet. But really, when we had the little cutbacks to Amiga with Sid, we did have some, you know, development going on, you know, because she did pay off that debt, which has been obviously a running theme now for
I also wonder if there's going to be repercussions to the fact that, like, she did draw quite a lot of attention to herself in that scene, because the bar was full of people. Will there be repercussions to that? That'll be quite interesting.
Yeah, and usually people in Star Wars bars are usually dodgy people, aren't they? As well. So no, I think you might be onto something there. All right then. Well, thank you everybody in the chat for joining. This is the moment where I sort of end the stream a number of times for the next sometimes days. It goes on for days, me trying to end the stream, but this is the beginning of me trying to end the stream. So a couple of bits of housekeeping from me in a moment. But first of all, Philip, I have linked to your YouTube channel and your Twitter in the video description. You know the links. I haven't put them there for your benefit. I put them there so anyone watching in the future or now in the live chat can go and find you and just give, for anyone who's joined now and is meeting you for the first time, just give us another little overview of your YouTube channel that I have linked to in the video description.
Geeky pop culture of all kinds, but particularly Doctor Who focused. About half of it's Doctor Who, and then the rest filled in with other geeky pop culture I like the MCU, Star Trek. I have done Star Wars in the past, but I haven't done for a while. I will try and find some more Star Wars content to do as well. So basically, yeah, just any sort of geeky pop culture that I like. It's also got my, I put up my podcast, Everybody is Dead Dave, which is a Red Dwarf review podcast, which Jamie has been a guest reviewer on in the past, about a month ago, I think it was. So you can scroll back and find the episodes of that. That podcast is also available on all the usual podcast platforms as well. Everybody is Dead Dave. That's that one.
Yeah, well, like I said, I've linked to the YouTube channel and your personal Twitter in the video description. So I know a lot of you have already met Phil and have gone over to find him elsewhere, but if you haven't already, go and check that stuff out. And a couple of bits of housekeeping from me if you're still here. This week on Tuesday, I uploaded the July episode of These Are the Actors You're Looking For. The latest episode in my series of underperforming content is with Lauren Mary Kim, who, do you know what? I'm supposed to be biased, aren't I? I think this is a really good episode of this Star Wars interview series. She is a stunt performer, stunt actor, stunt double, all the titles, but very talented. And she did the motion capture Ahsoka in the final season of the Clone Wars that we see fighting against Maul, who was performed again in motion capture by Ray Park. So she talks about that. And also she stunt doubled for some amazing iconic scenes in The Mandalorian, including the armorer smashing up the stormtroopers at the end of season 1. And in season 2, she was Fennec Shand on, when Grogu gets captured, I think the tragedy, when Fennec Shand does that cool kind of flying kick when Boba's introduced and gets his armor back. And loads of other roles as well. So I'm going to be biased here, but it's the first time I've had a stunt performer on the channel, on the series. I think this is a really good episode. So if you haven't already, go and check it out. And there'll be more from Carol talking about her career in general, about how she got into stunt work and, how it's a really challenging job to have. We talked about the Lord of the Rings incidents earlier. And also how it's quite a kind of undervalued role as well. They don't get the credit they deserve, a lot of these guys. And she also has a long-running Marvel career as well, mostly involved with the Netflix Marvel series. So I'm going to release a separate interview with her about those two aspects of her career as well. So that's all to come. So there's the housekeeping from me. And now I am going to probably end the stream. Glenn says, great interview with Lauren. Thank you, Glenn. Thank you. She was a really good guest. She was actually in quarantine at the time in Thailand, in like a proper strict hotel quarantine. So she had all the time in the world. I remember it recorded quite a lot in the end. I had to sort of, say, I've got to go now, Lauren, but she's trying to kill time, stuck in her hotel room. Right. Thank you, everybody. Peter says, thank you for the stream. And thanks, Philip, for your input. Yes. Thank you to Philip Hawkins, our guest. Don't forget, you are welcome, mate. We'll have you back again, I'm sure, if you'd like to come back, of course. And it's optional, and once again, go and check out Phil's channel if you haven't already. It's linked to in the video description. Thank you, everyone in the chat. We will be back for one more Geekend Live before I have to take a little break. More on that next week. And we will have the chat batch included next week with Ken Knapsack, who made a little cameo in the chat earlier. Who, once again, I believe was mean about the Blue Yeti microphone. I am not sponsored by Blue Yeti. I'm not even using their microphone anymore. It's definitely a good starter mic for YouTube. How do you feel about the Blue Yeti microphone, Philip?
I've never used one, so I have no opinions on it. It looks nice.
It's really heavy. It's really.
I've got a cheap £50 thing I got from Maplin's years ago, about 10 years ago. So,
is it USB or is it LXR?
USB. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it sounds good. Sounds good to me, and it's obviously reliable. Still going strong years later. Yeah. Anyway, when it comes to buying a new microphone, don't listen to Ken Knapsack. He's very mean about microphones. He's a microphone snob. Anyway, I did tell you that I wouldn't be ending the stream exactly when I, said I would be ending the stream. There's always a number of tangents that have to be followed through with before I do actually end the stream. But now I am going to end the stream. Jane says, thanks, Jamie and Philip. And Glenn says, later, everyone. Catch you next week if you don't oversleep. Yeah, as Frogger says, set your alarm clock, Glenn. I felt almost lonely without you in the beginning. You two, my best buddies now. So make sure you're on time next week, at least for Frogger's sake, Glenn, okay? So we'll be back next week. So see you then. Hope you're all well. And goodbye.